Jake here for American Trucks. In this video, I've got the K&N Series 77 High Flow Performance Cold Air Intake fitting 2019 and newer 3.6 liter Ram 1500s. If you're looking for an easy way to improve the drivability and response of your Pentastar powered Ram, then you've got to take a look at this intake from K&N. This one is specifically designed to increase airflow and reduce intake temperatures versus your stock intake setup, which is going to make for a noticeable difference in the way your truck drives and responds, and it also doesn't require a tune, making it an easy setup. K&N has long been the name in cold air intakes, and with good reason. Their intakes and filters are high quality, long-lasting pieces that provide noticeable improvements in overall drivability. And this Series 77 system is no exception. Let's start with that filter. This is a washable, reusable, high-flow oiled filter to help capture dirt and particulates. Now, since this is noticeably larger than your stock filter, it is inherently going to let a lot more air through. And these deep pleats in the filter help with both flow and trapping of unwanted debris. And since this is an oiled design, you get the added benefit of having that additional layer of protection against dirt and particulates. And the oil on the surface here is nice and sticky, so this can help filter out even some of the smallest particulates that might otherwise slip through a dry filter. And the best part about that is you can just wash this out, re-oil it, pop it right back in, and be on your way. No need to replace it, just clean it and move on. Now, oiled filters like this one have a pretty long lifespan, especially if they're properly cared for, so that's going to help cut down on the replacement costs. Now, K&N likes to say that you can go up to 100,000 miles without cleaning their filters in ideal conditions, but I would recommend cleaning this out every year or so just to make sure that everything is performing at its best. And again, keep an eye on it. Depending on the types of conditions in which you drive your truck, you may have to clean it a little more or less frequently. Now, we do see plenty of heat shields for cold air intakes, but I like this one because it actually seals to the hood. You get a nice thick piece of weather stripping right here in the box for it, and it makes this whole filter sort of a self-contained unit without being a more restrictive air box. So as opposed to a restrictive air box or an open, smaller heat shield, this one is large enough to allow for excellent airflow, but it still keeps things sealed off enough to make sure that the air is being pulled from outside as opposed to from inside the engine bay, which is going to help make sure that intake temperatures stay low. So you get maximum airflow and minimum temperatures, and that is a recipe for better response and more power. And since the air filter is visible as soon as you pop the hood, it's easy to check on the cleanliness and condition of the filter without having to disassemble anything. Now, attaching all of that trickery to the intake manifold is the intake tube, which this is probably my favorite part of the entire kit. It's lightweight, it's smooth for maximum airflow, and because you have that more open box design, the larger filter, and this large, solid intake tube, that means you're gonna get more sound. Intakes are great for this because while you're cruising around at lower speeds, you really don't hear much, but once you crack that throttle open, you get a great amount of intake noise, and I'm a big fan of that. Personally, I always look for a metal intake tube just because I like the resonance of it. Though you give up a little bit maybe in weight, this is still pretty lightweight. It's really not going to make that much of a difference, and again, you're going to get a great noise out of it. Now, another big positive here with this setup is that this is a no tune required intake, so you don't need to invest in a custom tune or a flash tuning module to get this setup working on your truck. However, as with any intake, don't expect huge power gains. You're still going to feel some difference in the way your truck responds, but big power gains are not going to be the end result here. And of course, though a tune is not required, we do recommend one if you want to maximize your performance gains. Now, construction-wise, again, that filter we were talking about earlier is a cotton gauze media, and it's an oiled design. So again, this is going to do a great job of filtering out dirt and debris. That intake tube that I was just waxing poetic about is made from mandrel bent aluminum, again, providing that excellent airflow and heat resistance, plus that nice resonance we were discussing. And it's got this really nice metallic gray finish on it too, so it's going to add a nice little pop of color under the hood too. And that heat shield is made from a black powder coated metal that includes that new hefty piece of weather stripping that we were talking about as well to help keep things sealed up properly. Overall, this is going to look really nice under the hood of your truck, and it's going to function well too, which are the two things you really want in an intake. Pricing for this one comes in at about $450, and as is typical with K&N's offering, that puts it kind of right in the middle of the category. But as with most things, you get what you pay for here. So if you're looking for a high quality air intake that's easy and it's a bolt-on upgrade but still isn't going to break the bank, That's why this one is worth it in my opinion. Again, I like that you have the reusable filter, you've got the heat shield with the weather stripping on it, and that nice aluminum intake tube, which in my opinion, all good things. Plus everything here feels nice and well made, and it's gonna be a good quality setup that'll last you a while. So if you want something that's gonna be really nice for your truck and is gonna make a difference in drivability, but without having to spend a ton of money, this is a great choice for you. Installation gets a 1 out of 3 on our difficulty meter, and it should only take you about 1 hour to complete the job. Now, all the clamps and pieces that you need are included in the kit, and it is a bolt-on operation, so you don't need to make any modifications to your truck in order to install it. With that though, let's go ahead and hand the torch over to one of our AT customers who's gonna walk you through the install process.
Okay, so for this install, I'll be using a flathead screwdriver, ratchet, impact drill. This isn't necessary, but I'll just use it to make things easier. Bit holder, 8mm socket, 10mm socket, 9/16 wrench. Adjustable wrench will work if you don't have a 9/16. 4mm Allen key or 4mm hex bit. All right, first we're going to start by removing this clip, this bolt here, using my 8mm to get that loose so we can take off the intake, the air intake here. All right, now to uninstall the factory air intake, we're going to use our 8mm to loosen the hose clamp connected to the air intake box. Got that one loosened. All right, we're gonna go ahead and disconnect the IAT sensor from the throttle body. Just give it a quarter turn counterclockwise and just wiggle it on out. There it is. All right, next we're gonna grab our 10mm, take off this bolt down there connected to the intake pendulum. Be sure to disconnect this hose right here. Just it's attached. You just press down and it releases. Slide it back and it releases. Just press down on this white tab here. Slide back and it releases. Okay, next the throttle body take off now. Okay, again, you just want to pull up on this throttle body to take it off. Slide it on up. It comes right out. All right, guys, we're gonna get your heat shield provided with the kit. You're gonna get your weather stripping. You're gonna put your weather stripping on the heat shield. Okay, so you want to start right at the very bottom edge and work your way on the top edge just to get a good seal. Just work it on the top of the heat shield. All right, and there's all completed. You now have your weather stripping on top of your heat shield so you can get all that cold air. All right, guys, we got a little excess left over. So what we're going to do is just come right here. Just going to trim off that excess and make sure that it fits flush in our vehicle. All right. Next, we're going to install our filter adapter to our heat shield. I'm going to take the 2 bolts, put the locking washer on them, then with the flat washer on each of them. Locking washer, then the flat washer on. With our filter adapter, line it up with the hose on the heat shield. Hand screw to tighten. And we're going to use our 4mm hex bit to torque it down. All right, now we have our filter adapter installed on our heat shield. All right, next we're going to install the coupler to the filter adapter. I'm gonna put it on there. Grab your provided hose clamp and put it on the coupler. Grab the other one as well. Just slide that one on. We're gonna go ahead and use our 8mm to tighten down the bolt to secure the coupler to the heat shield. All right, that's nice and snug. And now you have the coupler on the heat shield. Okay, next we're gonna put our final coupler on the vent tube here. I'm gonna slide that in right over like so. It goes on nice and snug. So you can't push down if you can't push anymore. We're gonna grab our clamp number 56. Slide that over the tube. Grab our impact drill with our 8mm socket on there and just go ahead and tighten that down. All right. Grab our other ring here, hose clamp, and we're gonna just lightly put it on there. We're gonna wait till we get to the truck, and then we're gonna install this over the intake. All right, guys. Now we're gonna take our grommet, put our grommet into this hole here. That's going to help seal the IAT connector. All right, pretty snug fit once that's in there. All right. Next, we're going to take our inlet tube here, connect it to the hose here. Just clamp, just press that in there. Make sure that's in there tight. And then next we're gonna take this piece here, push this in the tube as well. Make sure it's in there tight. All right, now we're going to, with our 9/16 wrench, screw in this inlet tube counterclockwise. Hand tighten it to get it started. Then we're gonna come here, just tighten it down. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and drop the heat shield into the engine bay, and that just seats down just like so. Now we're gonna get our filter, our air intake filter, and place that right over on top of the tube here. You can grab our 8mm and tighten the clamp onto the filter. Air intake tube there, connected to the heat shield box here, and then onto the air intake. You connect the clamp protector right back here. It'll snap. All right. Remember to connect your IAT connector back into the inlet tube. Make sure that's seated in there nice and tight, that IAT connector. Now we're going to take our 8mm socket and tighten down the remaining hose clamp clips. These two right here on the intake manifold. All right. Last thing for you to do is slap on your K&N sticker. And that's it.
That's going to wrap it up here for our review and install of the K&N Series 77 High Flow Performance Cold Air Intake fitting 2019 and newer 3.6 liter Ram 1500s. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, for all things Ram, be sure to keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.